so there is an option for you to join into the Webex if you want to. Let me just see if I can actually. I'm a bit disorganized today. Chromecast at the same time. If I can't, you guys can actually join onto the Webex at the same time, because I will most likely be sharing my screen with everybody who's online. So it might be convenient for you to join the Webex as well, but we'll just see if the Chromecast actually works. Nine, 8, 3, 2. Okay, it still works. That's great. All right, so pretty much there was a couple of things that I wanted to go through today. I just wanted to briefly go through, I guess, how this term was originally supposed to run. So I wasn't anticipating as many people. Anticipating as many people coming, so it's really great that we've got a lot of face-to-face people. If at any point that you do need to study online, that's fine. Just, you know, making sure that you're on time, which everybody who is online is on time, which is amazing. If you are online, you do have to have your camera off if I record the lesson. If I'm not recording the lesson, you can keep it on. It's just like child protection sort of thing, because then that video would actually go on the internet. And as we all know, once something goes on the internet, it stays on the internet forever. So it would be ideal if we didn't have the faces on the internet. All right. So today, I pretty much wanted to just gauge where everybody is with their investigation, because at the end of last term, I'm sure you all remember we were starting maybe the middle end of last term, we were doing a group task. We were looking at starting our group task where you were going to create like an activity to promote physical activity and stuff like that. We then pressed pause on that because a lot of people really quickly stopped coming to school, and it made collaboration really, really difficult. Okay, so we've actually paused that assessment. We haven't thrown it in the bin. We're actually going to come back to it. I've modified it, but we won't come back to it until the end of this week. Okay. There we go. All right, so we started our investigation. We actually started it in week 9. Just a quick show of hands, who is aware of the investigation? You're aware that it exists. It doesn't mean that you've started it, but you're aware of it. You're aware of it. You are. Oh, yeah. You're aware of it. Yeah. Okay. Who, quick show of hands, has started doing research? Okay. Quick show of hands, who has started writing it? Okay. So what I want to go through, it's very small on the screen. It'll look different on your day map. For me, the tab is assessment. I think on yours it will say like tasks on your day map. All right. I'm just going to quickly open it so I can show you. So it's assessment 2, individual investigation about FASD. Quick, anyone, what's FASD? What does it stand for? I'm glad you remembered that. So fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, that is the topic that you, everybody in this class is focusing on. So if you haven't started it, if you haven't really done much research or you're not really sure what it is about, I have created a sort of checklist for you. It's very small on the screen. Pardon? I think you should be in. Just pop your... All right, I've muted you. I think I muted you. Did I mute you? No. There you go. Perfect. Okay. So even if you do need to catch up because you've forgotten everything because you've had like a 3-week holiday, these are some things that I want you to do. So I've put up a range of different resources from Word documents, PDFs, and YouTube videos. So we all in class watched the first video about what fetal alcohol spectrum disorder is, and we looked at how it is in Australia. We haven't really looked at it in a global sense because we do really want to just focus on Australia. So that is a really good video that I would want you to watch first if you haven't seen it. Then there's another video that talks about why people with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder are different. So let's just have a quick show of hands. Who can think of why fetal alcohol spectrum disorder is so different for so many different people? Yeah, it depends on when the mum was drinking during pregnancy, absolutely. Yeah, it's a spectrum. And what does that mean? Yeah, so the spectrum, there's a range of different, I guess, characteristics or perhaps symptoms, you might say, different things that might present in somebody that has fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. Anybody else? So we've got when during the pregnancy. What is something else? Maybe how much someone's drinking, how often someone's drinking could be a contribution. It could have something to do with genetics. So there are a lot of different things of what can cause people to be so different with alcohol spectrum disorder. Just like, for example, autism spectrum disorder, nobody's the same. Everybody has different characteristics. Everybody presents differently, such like that. Then there is a YouTube video that is actually a recording of when I went through the investigation with people that were in class. And that goes through what fetal alcohol spectrum disorder is, and it goes through the actual assessment and what you're asked to do. Okay, so if people today want me to sit with them and go through that again, I'm happy to do that, but I would really appreciate it if you could go and watch that video, just because there are some things in there that we did discuss in class that I think were really valuable that I might not be able to remember today. So it is really useful for you to watch that video and get a better understanding of the topic and the assessment. All right, so how many words is the investigation? Can anyone remember? 600 words. It's not a lot of words. So it is really short, sharp, tiny. So then there's the investigation assessment sheet. So everything that you need to know about the assessment, I would have gone through in that YouTube video. But the assessment sheet is still really good to access because I've put lots of websites on there that you can use for your research. I've already looked through these websites that already have lots of rich information such as statistics, some graphs and stuff like that, some really good credible information. So don't feel like you have to go and do your own research. You absolutely can, but there are websites on there for you to access for support. There's also podcasts that are really useful if you're not one for reading. You can reference videos, YouTube videos, you can reference podcasts. It doesn't have to be just articles and websites, okay? Then there is the survey data that we did. So there were a few people who was in the class when we came up with this survey. Chelsea, India, yep. Okay, so it wasn't a very long survey. I think it was about 15 questions or so, but we actually got about 50 participants or 40 odd participants to do it. So there is a Word document that has screenshots of the data, okay? So then there is a YouTube video that we did in class again, looking at how you can use that data in your investigation. The reason that we did that was because you are being asked to use primary resources and secondary resources. So someone give me an example of what a secondary resource is. What would that be? Yeah, a book is an example. A website is an example. Yep, internet, YouTube video, textbook, something that has already been, information has already been sourced, all right, from somewhere. All right, if it's a statistic from a website, it's a secondary resource. So what's an example of a primary resource? An interview, a survey, an observation. All right, so you're being asked to use primary and secondary, which is why we have created that survey, so that you can use data that we've collected. You just need to analyze it and pop it in there. All right, and if you don't know how to use that data, that's what the video is for. All right. You don't have to use a lot of it. It could just be mentioned once or twice throughout your investigation. But if you do mention your survey, it just ticks a box and it just makes you go up a little bit higher in that grade band. Okay. There's a referencing one. If you're not familiar with referencing, what are the two different types of ways that you can reference? In-text is one. Not quite. So in-text would be like you have a piece of information that you've gotten from somewhere, and then you would have your two brackets, and you might say, for example, Patterson 2020. All right. And then the other one would be footnotes. Who's done footnote referencing before? All right, so maybe I'll quickly go through that today. I prefer footnote referencing because it kind of helps with the word count. So I'll do a quick little demo today for people. But that little document helps you with not your bibliography, but your reference list. So what is a bibliography, Chelsea? Do you know? Yeah, it's a list of the websites that you've accessed to get information from. Does anyone know what the difference between a bibliography is and a reference list? Yeah, they're very similar. So your bibliography is a list of websites. Your reference list will be not only the websites, but it sort of looks at the information a little bit more. So if you access the roadmap to referencing, it'll teach you how to do that. So you'll have to find perhaps the author of, if it's an article that you've accessed, you would need to put the author, the year that it was written or posted to the internet. You might have to put in the title. If it's a website, you might look at the website name, then the page name, if you can find a year, stuff like that. Okay, so have a go. I'm not expecting your referencing to be perfect, but I really want you to have a go at this referencing, and then for your draft, I might be able to make some recommendations. But definitely have a bibliography. If you do not have a bibliography, that is not good. All right, so definitely need to put your websites in there. The next thing is some text connectives. If you really struggle with academic writing, this is a really good resource just to access. Let me see if I can quickly open it. It just might take your, I guess, your language maybe up from a C bracket to a B bracket or a B bracket to an A bracket. All right, so if you find that you're using the same words over and over again and it's a little bit repetitive, you might want to have a look at some of these words. Moreover is a really fun one. More is a really good one. To summarise, to sum up, that's a good one for your conclusion. Nevertheless, despite this, lots of really fun ones in there. So please try and use some of these text perspectives in your academic writing. If you find that you're being a little bit repetitive, then what else did I say for you to look at? The template. All right, the template's really good because if you're not sure what structure you need to use for your investigation, this really breaks it down for you. If you don't want to write it in like an introduction, body, conclusion, there is an option to do PowerPoint if you prefer that, and you can actually break the PowerPoint off into smaller topics. Okay, you can use pictures if you need to, if that is your preference. Okay, I'm not marking you on your structure of your investigation. I'm marking you on your actual investigation. I'm marking you on your analysis of information, marking you on your language and your use of the correct terminology. So for those of you who remember from last term, if I were to say the word baby in this investigation, what do we think of that? Ah, why would I use the word fetus instead of baby? Why is it better? Okay, so the topic is fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. We're looking at the damage that is done to the baby due to pregnancy. The name of a baby that has been that is not born yet is fetus. All right, so you would want to be using the correct terminology. If you're using the term fetus too much, what's an alternative? Unborn baby. All right, so just some correct terminology. That's what the draft is for. If I feel like maybe you're not using the right terminology, I might put you in the right direction. But it gives you just a guide of what you should be writing in your introduction, a guide of some things you should be talking about in your body, so split that into 2 paragraphs, and a guide of what you should be writing in your conclusion. So I've written a minimum of 5 references. All right, that is a minimum. There's no maximum. All right, you can have 20 if you find 20. I don't think you would get that much because it's only 600 words, but I would like you to aim of a minimum of 5 resources because you'll get a lot more information from that. So if you haven't had much of an opportunity to look at this assessment in much depth, I want you to go through this process, watch these videos, access these documents in this order before you write your investigation. I'm happy to sit down with people today and go through it a little bit more, but for the rest of the lesson, it's my expectation that you actually start writing your investigation. You should have done your research already last term. All right, you can still be doing a little bit more research as you go, but you should actually be up to writing your investigation because your draft is due this Friday. All right, if it's a draft PowerPoint or a draft Word document or anything, that's fine. Please remember it's a draft, all right, but it is due this Friday, okay, because we don't have a lot of time this term. I want us to do that group task, and we do actually have another assessment as well that we need to get through. So we lost a lot of time last term, so it's going to be really busy. It's going to be a bit of a push this term. So I really do need your drafts to be in this Friday. So just any questions? Anybody who's online, if you have any questions, just go ahead and unmute yourself. But anybody in class that has any questions or concerns? Immediately, everybody else. Anybody online? Okay. So I'm going to end this online lesson. All right. So for those of you who are at home, please go through those videos if you haven't already, and go through all the stuff that's online. All right, and then start to work on writing your investigation, getting a draft ready for this Friday, and we will start our actual new assignment on Friday, okay? So that's the same for everybody else. I'm just going to end the lesson.